Last season, for the first time since 1997, the San Antonio Spurs didn't make the playoffs. It was weird having a postseason without them, but if you're a Spurs fan, you should be happy because this year it's going a lot better. LaMarcus Aldridge, who was one of the main players on the team last year, was injured, and it honestly seemed like San Antonio just wasn't able to get it together. Obviously, things didn't get better for them when Trey Lyles and Bryn Forbes, who were two other starters, got injured as well. At that point, even Greg Popovich had given up on the team. After the Spurs lost their final game of the season to the Jazz, almost everyone started worrying about the future of the team. There was a rumor about Popovich leaving, and there was even talk about the Spurs going into a whole rebuilding phase, meaning that they were to trade DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge. Well, basically nothing happened since then, and the San Antonio is back with the exact same team. And even though they're not as high level as the Nets, Lakers, Clippers, or the Jazz, the Spurs are still a team that can catch us all by surprise. I know a lot of you might think how a 7th seed team could be a threat, and honestly, their standing right now doesn't exactly help their case. But if you've seen any of their games, you would notice that the main reason for their losses is because the Spurs starters haven't exactly been playing that well, which usually leaves the bench players having to catch up. This is by no means a good thing, but I'm pretty sure that it'll be fixed through the course of the season, and when it does, you'll be left with a team that could potentially be the underdogs for winning the title. Currently, this team has 8 players who are averaging more than 10 points per game, which is one of the highest in the whole NBA. What this shows is that the Spurs offense is extremely well-rounded, and there isn't just 1 or 2 players doing all the work. When half of your roster can come on the floor and make a difference in any game, the chances of having an off night are really low. The best comparison I could make is to the Clippers, when they versed the Nuggets a couple months ago. In that game, they were down by more than 50 points before the halftime, and I personally think that's because Kawhi Leonard wasn't playing. There are teams that will 100% lose when they don't have 1 or 2 of their star players, but that's not the case with San Antonio, and that makes them really good when it comes to the playoffs, where a really large number of players start getting injured. Now let's take a deeper look at individuals on the Spurs. Obviously, the best player of the team is DeMar DeRozan, who's been having a decent year with close to 20 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds per game. His averages for points are a little bit lower than the years before, but in this case, that's a good thing because he's becoming more of a playmaker rather than just a scorer, and that's exactly what the Spurs need from him. You'll probably think that someone who's considerably new to playmaking wouldn't be that efficient, but surprisingly, that's not true for DeRozan. He's only having 1.7 turnovers per game, which is lower than Chris Paul, Steph Curry, and a lot of other really good point guards. This helps a lot when it comes to making clutch plays at the end of a close game, and I've noticed that the Spurs tend to be in that situation quite a lot. The reason for that is again the fact that the starters aren't able to get a lead early in the game, which leaves San Antonio having to play catch-up ball. Just look at some of the scores from a couple of the Spurs' recent games and you'll see what I mean. Honestly, DeMar DeRozan is still more than an elite player, and I don't know why no one's crediting him for the level which he's playing at. ESPN placed him 82nd in their top 100 best players ranking, and honestly, that's plain disrespectful. Just to give you an idea, all 5 starters from the Pelicans were ranked higher than him. How they can possibly rank Eric Bledsoe, Lonzo Ball, and Steven Adams higher than DeRozan, I don't know. All I know is that he's one of the most underappreciated players in the league, and there just needs to be more respect given to his name. Alright, now that I'm finished with my little rant, let's get back to the Spurs. Another player who has been really able to step it up is Jakob Poeltl. One thing that this franchise has always been known for is their defense, and this year Poeltl has been able to become a dominant force on that end of the floor. After the Spurs lost by 31 points to the Grizzlies back in the start of February, Greg Popovich finally decided to move Poeltl to the starting lineup for LaMarcus Aldridge. And since then, San Antonio has had the 4th best defensive record in the NBA, and I don't think that's a coincidence. Someone else who's also been really good is DeJounte Murray, who's averaging close to 16 points, 5 assists, and 7 rebounds. He has the height and the length necessary to be a great player around the rim, which is an area of his game that I think he should try to incorporate more. As an added bonus, he'll get more free throws that way, which will help the Spurs a lot. Also, let's not forget about Derrick White, who just recently returned to the lineup after being out with injuries for the majority of the season. Although his stats aren't that crazy, White is still a really good playmaker and ball handler who could also shoot the ball from 3. This helps San Antonio space out the floor and give players like DeMar DeRozan and DeJounte Murray an easier time getting to the rim. Of course, there's also other very important players like Rudy Gay, who is a seasoned veteran, and Devin Vassell, who's also another great defensive player, but I won't get into all of that right now. The only thing that's important is that this roster has a great mix of young players with a lot of potential and older guys with experience. With this, all it takes is a couple of readjustments for them to become at least a strong team heading into the postseason. With Poltel becoming a dominant rim protector and other guys also stepping up their defensive game, I personally have no worries when it comes to that end of the floor, but their offense still needs a lot of work. Obviously they're a team that's good overall, but the Spurs don't really excel at anything individually, which is something they need to do if they want to be able to close out games easier. A lot of the games that the Spurs have won were with a point differential of less than 10, and that means those games could have gone either way. But still, they managed to defeat some of the top-ranked teams in the league, so I'm sure they'll figure out a way to get their offense to a high level before the trade deadline. Talking about trades, the San Antonio Spurs recently announced that they're parting ways with LaMarcus Aldridge, and with his high trade value, this could be a game changer for the Spurs. As I mentioned before, Poltel has been able to really step up and fill in the center position, so the Spurs could easily trade Aldridge without damaging their current roster. If they can trade for a guy who's a decent scorer, then they could easily take their team to the next level. No matter what happens, the San Antonio Spurs should in no way be underestimated because the problems that they have right now are things that could easily be fixed before the playoffs. And with the great coach that they have in Greg Popovich, I'm sure that the Spurs could become the underdogs for the title this season. If you have a different opinion on this, make sure to leave a comment and tell me what you think. Also, if you haven't already, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more NBA related videos as soon as they're released. Well, that's pretty much it. I'll see you in the next video.